Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. My name is Vinay Kumar and I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate your taking time off your busy schedule to join us today for this webinar which is entitled Statistical Tools in Research, which is organized by DigiSaksham. DigiSaksham is an initiative of SAM's Welfare Foundation and has developed content for over 300 courses in multiple language which range from 4 hours to 6 months for all the age group from school children, youth, professionals to senior citizen with over 6,000 trainings skills till date in various sectors like technology, science, IT, healthcare, finance, and management. So about the event, now moving on towards to this event, our event is based on research. Research is defined as the creation of new knowledge or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way, so as to generate new concept and understanding. Today we learn about the statistical tools which we use in research to the extent that leads to new creative outcomes. So about the speaker. Today enlightening us on the topic, today we have Mr. Sashikant Dixit sir, which who is a certified professional from various reputed international ITs. He has 19 plus years of Indian and international industries and academic exposure in the field of quantitative technique and information system. I request to Mr. Sashikant Dixit sir to address us more on the topic. Please, sir.
Thank you, Vinay, and good afternoon to everyone. Uh, Hi, myself, Shashikant Dikshit. I'm basically going to have this webinar today, and the topic is statistical tool in research. Research is very important topic nowadays, where we are living in a competitive environment, and we have to fight with different aspect with different competitors, and the research is one. Thank you. Then the research is one of the instrument that normally we use to take the edge over the other competitor, right? Now, when we talk about the research, the in case of research, if you see, 80% is basically related to the statistical tool that we use, and 20% is basically related to the analysis of that, right? And sometimes, of course, people say that there's only 20% is statistics and 80% is analysis. Now, I open this basically to you all to decide what is basically more important in case of research. Of course, if you talk about my opinion, I'll say that the statistics as well as the analysis in research is both are very important. So implementation of the statistical tool and basically the analysis after getting the result from the statistical tool is basically are important. If you get the right result from the statistical tool, but if you're not in a position to analyze that result right later on in this stage, then might be you will fail whatever you do in your basically in whatever activity you perform, right? So let's start with the concept of statistics first, and then we will move down to the what are the different type of tools available. Right now, when we say statistics, what exactly statistics means? Statistics is basically one of the concept that we used to discuss when we are talking about research, and that concept basically talk about the study and the analysis of data. It's completely basically related to the study of the data and the analysis of that data, right? So when we go for this study and analysis, basically this divided into three different parts. One is called data collection, that is basically related to the study part. Second one is related to the data analysis, the analysis part of it. And the third one is basically related to the presentation of your result, whatever result finally you will get, that you have to present in front of the gentry, those who are going to take the decision, right? So basically statistics, a study divided into three different parts, you can say, or three. One is basically called the data collection, where we talk about what type of data is required, how we will get the data, how much data we have to collect, everything. Second one is basically talk about the data analysis, that what are the different tools available to collect the to go for the analysis part of the data, right? And the third one is basically related to the presentation, right? So today we are going to discuss more about the data collection techniques available or the tools available, and the data analysis techniques and tools available in statistics that we normally use when we are talking about research in our day-to-day life, or even you can say a day-to-day life or in a corporate life, right? Now let's move down to the first one called data collection. So we have different type of data collection tool, and we have to understand this thing, that data collection is one of the most important. Of course, everything is very much important, but one of the most important technique, you can say a technique, or you can say that the process, the data collection is most important process that you have to put more focus, so that you will basically get the desired result that you are looking for, right? So there is a different type of techniques that we have to use when we are talking about data collection. So different techniques are available. All the techniques are used in different scenario. You cannot use all the technique in same scenario or something like that. So you have to use these technique in different scenario. The first one is basically talk about the interview technique. Of course, one thing just I want to tell you that whatever the technique I am going to tell you is basically the technique that are most commonly used in the corporate world, right? So the first technique is called interview. Interview is basically one of the technique that we use when we are talking about the data collection, and this is basically one of the methodology to collect the primary data from the respondent, right? In this, what we would normally do is we basically have a one-to-one interaction with the respondent and try to collect their view regarding that research topic, right? So this is first one of the technique. Second one technique is basically the focus group. Focus group technique is what, where we create a Sania, of course, you will get everything. Let's we'll focus on the presentation, and then we will, of course, do whatever the requirements you have. Fine. So second technique when we are talking about data collection is a focus group. In focus group, what we do is we create a group of 3 to 4 or 5 intellectuals, right? And what we do is we try to put the different type of questions to the group and try to get the idea or their views on the particular question related to the research topic. So this is second type of technique that we use, right? Third one is called the observation technique. Observation technique is basically the one of the most important technique that we, of course, perform when we are talking about research. And this technique is basically where we somehow indirectly observing the respondent and try to get the data related to the research part, right? In brief, of course, I'll explain each and every technique to you all. Then the third one and the next one is called case study technique. Case study technique is basically where we present where we present basically our research problem in term of a case to the respondent, right? And try to get the idea from them, try to get their views on that, and then we do the conclusion. And the most important thing is the survey, questionnaire, and schedule technique. Survey, questionnaire, and schedule is almost one of almost same technique, but there are of course a bit difference in between. In these three, survey, questionnaire, and schedule, what we do is we try to prepare basically the questions beforehand, right? All the question related to the research problem beforehand. And then we moved on to the respondent and collect the data, right? Now, what is basically survey? Survey is basically the technique where we do not basically go for a structured format of the questions, right? We write down a specific question related to the research problem and ask to the respondent, right? No structured format is required. Second one is called questionnaire. Questionnaire and schedule are almost same. In both the cases, we have a complete structured questions related, complete structured questions related to the problem. What we do is we write number of questions in a complete structured format, right, related to the problem. But what is the difference between questionnaire and schedule is, questionnaire is something that might be circulated to someone, where in case of the schedule, what will happen is respondent by himself take the paper or the questionnaire to the the researcher by himself take the questionnaire to the respondent and get the detail from the respondent directly in one-to-one interaction. So the difference between questionnaire and schedule is, questionnaire is basically a structured format, can be passed on to anyone through email or some whatever the medium, pass on to everyone, and then people will fill it, right? Whereas in case of schedule, what we do is, in case of schedule, we, the researcher, like if I'm a researcher, I will move down to each and every one and then collect the data directly. I will not going to forward you the structure format, the questionnaire, through email or some other medium, right? I myself directly go for. So this is what the difference between questionnaire and schedule. So these are few techniques that we use when we are talking about data collection. Now, these are the different techniques that use at different point of time. Like when you are like if we have a COVID situation right now, right? And we try to find out the effect of COVID in next 5 years, right? What we will do is we will try to go for the interviewing technique with the doctor. The first technique that I'm telling you, interview with the doctor and try to get that. So in that case, observation technique won't work at all, right? Interview technique will be the good one. Or we try to find out the after effect. We can go for focus group discussion also, right? So situation decide which type of data collection tool you have to use. Now suppose you want to go for basically footfall in the shopping mall, right? A Walmart you will talk about, or any Indian shopping mall you talk about. In that case, when you are talking about a footfall, need not to go for interview, need not to go for focus discussion. You have to go for basically the observation technique, where you will sit somewhere near to the entry point of the basically the shopping mall, and try to find out who is coming, whether the family is coming, whether girl and boy is coming, who is coming, at what age and age group belongs to, you will go for it, right? So different type of techniques normally go for. When we talk about social science topic, like when you have to talk about the performance of a basically particular product, right? In that case, what you do is you go for a questionnaire, you go for a scheduling, you may go for a focus group also. So these different type of data collection technique will basically use at different point of time to collect the data. So this is first part of basically the presentation. The second part of the presentation, we have basically called the data analysis tool. Now, once we collect the data, now the objective is to analyze that data, to somehow manipulate that data, and try to find out the hidden information from that data. Normally, we know say that it's a data mining technique, right? The data mining technique people normally say, but it's not a data mining technique. So what we do is in data analysis, we try to find out the hidden information from the data by manipulating, by using different type of statistical tool. Now, it is very important for any researcher to understand what type of tools are available, what type of tools are required at what point of time, or what is your objective and the tool available, right? So then the second part I am going to discuss with the data analysis tool. Now the first data analysis tool that we are talking about is the shape of the distribution, that the tools related to the shape of the distribution. If you are talking about, if your objective is exploratory sort of, that you want to explore the topic, right? So the shape of the distribution is one of the concept that you have to talk about, and the tools related to shape of the distribution, the tools that will basically talk about the shape of the distribution and give you the basic information related to data. Second one is basically might be a case when you want to go for a comparative study. Now, the comparative study is basically where we may go for a individual identities, comparison of individual identities, or we may go for a comparison of a group identities. Especially in case of statistics, when we have to talk about a comparison of individual identities, we normally do not go for application of statistics because it's very easy to compare two people, so you easily can learn. But when we are talking about the comparative analysis between two different groups, a group from India and a group from US, right? So two different groups. Then we use the comparative analysis tools available. We have to use specifically these tools and go for the analysis, right? Then the third one is basically when we are talking about the relationship. Relationship is whether the relationship is strong or not, whether there is a relationship is or not. So when we are talking about a relationship, we have to conclude in terms of a relationship, right? Like one example is that the GDP of the country, right? GDP of the country and the you can say like manufacturing output figure, right? Not GDP and manufacturing output figure. There might be a relationship, there might be no relationship at all. Now, when you have to talk about this, you have different type of tools available where you can use these tools and find out the relationship, right? Then we have a classification technique. Classification technique is when you have to divide basically the entire population in different groups. We use the classification technique, right? And we have a factor evaluation techniques where you will try to find out the different type of factors responsible for something, right? Like if you are talking about the the growth of a particular country, growth factors. So the factors that is related to the growth that can somehow increase the growth of the country, increase or decrease or affect the growth of the country, that we have to, then we can use the factor evaluation technique. And the last one is basically the model formulation. You have to basically formulate a model related to your research. You have to test any predefined model. In that case, different type of techniques are available that you have to talk about, right? So now I'm going to take one by one each and every, and will give you what type of techniques are available that you can use to understand, right? Now the first one is called shape of the distribution. So shape of the distribution, basically data distribution is basically talk about the whatever the data you have and how it can be figured out when you draw a graph, right? So let's see. Now, if you talk about these two graphs, this is basically This is basically the case where you have, this is basically the graph, x-axis and y-axis, and this is the shape of the, this is basically the shape. This is basically the shape of the data, right? Same here in case of this high peak, low peak, and medium sort of peak, right? And this is called spreadness. This gap is called spreadness. How much data is spread? This is highly spread. This is medium spread. Right? So when you are talking about this, you have to talk about the different type of techniques available or the tools available in case of the statistics. Now, what these tools are? The first tool is basically called mean. Mean is the first tool that you can use when you are talking about the shape of the distribution. The second tool is called median. Third tool is called mode. Now, these three tools basically define the shape. These three, you cannot define the shape only with the help of median, mean or mode. These three tools all together will define the shape of the distribution. So you have to understand these. You have to calculate the mean, you have to calculate the mode, you have to calculate the median of the data to define the shape. You will find out what type of data it is, right? Then the fourth one is called variance. There is a variance technique. Variance technique will talk about the how much data is varying. Suppose there is a group of 100 people, right? So what is the variation from the particular point? Like how much variation is there from the mean, right? So the variation technique is another technique that we use to talk about when we have data. Like now, in case of this, in case of the graph, in case of this graph, if suppose this graph, if you check, if this is the mean, this is what the spreadness, this is variance, mean difference from mean to this position. Whereas if you talk about this graph, the variance is more, right? So this is what you have to check when we are talking about variance. Then this is called standard deviation. This standard deviation is basically a technique that will talk about the deviation from the mean. Both this side, either it is a left side or it is a right side, right? So deviation from the mean. Suppose the mean of a group is 45 and people say standard deviation is 5. So the range will be 5, 45 plus 5 and 45 minus 5. So the range will be 45, 40 and 50. So 40 to 50 is basically the range where this is mean and this is standard deviation from both the side, right or the left. So this is what you have to talk about when you are talking about shape of the distribution. This will give you the idea about the shape of the distribution. Then the another tool that we have is called skewness. Skewness is basically talk about the, like when you check this graph, this is the skewness. This is, suppose this is the marks of a student 0 and 100, right? So you have given one exam. The minimum marks is 0 and the maximum marks is 100. And this is called left skewed. Left skewed means when the peak is towards the higher side. And when this is 0 and this is 100. When the peak is towards the lower side, this is called right skewed. And when the peak is at the medium, at the center, you can say it is called symmetric unimodal, right? So you can go for skewness also. And once you will decide the skewness, you will find that the maximum data lie near higher side. When you have a right skewed, you will say the data lies near lower side. In this case, if you check, the paper was so tough that the people won't get good marks. People get lower marks. When it is a left skewed, you will say the paper was so easy that everybody did very well and got the higher marks, that is towards higher side, right? So this is what you can get with the help of skewness. And the next one is called kurtosis. Kurtosis is basically talk about the, like if you see this figure, kurtosis basically talk about the peakness of the figure. This is highly peaked, this is low peak. If it is low peak, this is the variance is very high. If it is high peak, the variance is low, right? So this you can get with the help of this, of course, kurtosis. So these are the different tools just to talk about the shape of the distribution. And when you calculate all this mean, median, mode, variation, standard deviation, skewness, and kurtosis, you are in a position to define your data distribution shape, and you are ready to do the different type of analysis. As I told you, if you have a rightly skewed, it means people have received marks near to lower side, it means the paper was very tough, that's why people receive lower marks. Or might be the lecturer has not given the right information related to the content, so you may have the, whatever the things are that we have to decide, right? So this is the tools related to data distribution, right? Then second one is called comparative analysis, when you have to go for comparative analysis. Now, when you have to compare two things, as I already told you, when you have to compare two groups, now what are the different tools available that you can go for? Now, we can go for Z-test, we can go for T-test, we can go for F-test, and we can go for chi-square test. So it means you always remember that if you have to compare two different groups, right? Two different groups, what you can do is you can use these four tools to understand something about the group, right? Now, what is Z-test and T-test? First of all, let's talk about Z-test and T-test. When we use Z-test, we use Z-test and T-test when we have to talk about, or when we have to compare. Now understand, when we have to compare two groups with respect to the average of the group, right? We can use Z-test as well as T-test, right? First of all, now, what is the meaning of this mean? Now, let's take an example where you have one group is from India and one is from US, right? Two different groups of a student, or both the groups are having 50 students. What we have to do is we have to understand the knowledge level. So whether we have to find out whether these two groups are same type of knowledge or different type of knowledge level, right? Now in that case, what we will do is we'll take the same test of two group, US group as well as Indian group, and try to get the average or the mean of it. So there will be a mean of Indian group and there will be a mean of US group, right? And now what I have to do, I have to compare these two groups with the help of mean that I have calculated. Now when you have to do this, you can use Z-test and T-test, right? Now, when you can use Z-test, now please understand, when your sample size is less than 30, when your sample size is less than 30, you can use Z-test. And where your sample size is more than 30, you can use T-test, right? So if you have a group, that is a 28 student and you want to compare, so what you will do is you will go for 30, that less than 30, that is Z-test. Otherwise you can go for T-test. But frankly speaking, now if you are using different type of softwares like SPSS or some other softwares, need not to talk about T-test or Z-test, right? SPSS will automatically calculate the T statistics for you, because whatever research you do, of course, in any case, you have to go for more than 30 sample size. So SPSS automatically calculate the T statistics for you and give you the detail, right? So need not to talk about whether I have to go for Z-test or T-test. Yes, Z-test and T-test are available and you can understand that, right? So this is when we are talking about comparison with the help of mean, right? Now when talk about the F-test. F test is test the quality of variance of two groups. Like it might be a position just a minute. No. You can use SPSS. Of course, if you have a licensed version of SPSS, you can use SPSS. Jeffrey, that doesn't matter that you are a licensed statistician or not. That doesn't matter at all. If you know how to use the SPSS, of course you can use it. Anyway, let's talk about the variance, F test with variance. A condition where you have to compare two groups, and you want to compare these groups not with the mean, but try to find out whether these groups, the marks of individual students are having a high variance or a low variance. Means they are vary from each other in a high quantity or in a low quantity, right? When you have to understand this, you can use the t-test. So t-test only when we have to talk about the variance within the group. Variance, if variance is very high, means the student are having a very different type of knowledge level within the group. But if the variance is very low, it means all the students in the same group having a almost same type of knowledge level, right? So when you have to understand this, you can use F test with two group, right? Then we have the chi-square test. Chi-square test is basically talk about the comparison of categorical variable. Now, when you have two different categories, you have to compare, like marks and age. You want to check that whether the age is related to marks or not, right? Now, marks is one category and age is second category. When you have to compare these two categories, right? You have to talk about the chi-square test, right? Then t-test and z-test won't work at all. You have to talk about only the chi-square statistics, yani chi-square test. So these are the tests when you have to talk about the comparative analysis, right? Then moved on to the relationship. Now, when you are going for a relationship, you have basically two different tools available. One is called correlation and the second one is called regression. Now, this correlation and regression will talk about the relationship between variables. Relationship between variables, right? These two, both these two, but there are certain difference in between these two, and both either correlation or regression you will use in different type of situation you have. So let's understand when you use the correlation and when you use the regression. Now, when you have to talk about the correlation is basically find the relationship between two or more variable. When you have to find out the relationship between two or more variable, like let's talk about performance, and the another variable is marks. Now, marks is one variable and the performance is another variable. You want to find out the relationship between these two. You can go for correlation technique, right? Correlation technique. Then you have a regression technique. Regression again talk about the relationship, but in case of regression, what happen is we find that relationship between dependent and independent variable, right? When you have to talk about the relationship between independent and dependent variables, then you use regression. In case of correlation, No need to talk about this independent or dependency. Just you have two variable and you want to find out the relationship, right? So the first thing is when you go for regression, when you have two variable that is in mode of independent and dependent, you will talk about the regression. Second, when you want to know the impact of IV, that is independent variable, on the DV, that is called dependent variable. So whenever you study the literature, you will find IV and DV is written. So you can understand IV is basically known as independent variable and DV is basically known as dependent variable. Now, second is when you want to know the impact of independent variable on dependent variable. How much impact one independent or number of independent variable will put on dependent variable, you have to talk about the regression, right? And the most important thing why we use regression is to find out the nature of relationship, whether the relationship is significant or not significant. Significant means sometimes what happens is there is a relationship, but that relationship is so weak that we can neglect that relationship, right? There is a relationship, but sometimes what happens is that relationship is so weak that we can neglect the relationship, right? Now, to understand whether we can neglect the relationship or we have to consider the relationship, we'll talk about the significant or not significant concept. If it is significant, if the relationship is significant, it means we have to consider the relationship. And if you get the result that there is a relationship, but that relationship is not significant, it means need not to consider that relationship, but that relationship doesn't matter at all, that the relationship doesn't affect anything, right? Clear? So when you are talking about relationship, you have basically two tools. One is called correlation and the second one is called regression, right? Now, next is called classification technique. So you have one classification tool. Sometimes what happens is like you have to divide your entire population in case of your research. You have to divide your entire population in different segments, right? Means you want to divide your population in terms of the interest of the population, right? Interest of the, suppose one population is very much interested in seeing the movie, so you want to keep them separate. One population is very much interested in traveling, so you want to keep them separate. One population is very much interested in studying, so you want to keep them separate, right? So when you have to go for this type of classification of your of your population, you have very important technique and very easy technique called cluster analysis. So what cluster analysis will do? Cluster analysis will basically divide your entire population in different groups. Like this is group 1, this is group 2, and this is group 3. So this cluster analysis tool will divide your population in 3 different areas, 3 different parts, right? And how it is divided? Now see, use classify different objects into group, keeping in mind similarity between the object. Like those who are interested in movie, those who are interested in study, those who are interested in traveling are divided in 3 different groups. So entire population is divided into 3 different groups. This technique is very easy. Of course, you can say it's simple also. And this technique is widely used in case of research and data science concepts, right? So if you are master of this technique, you can use any application related to data science, right? This is the next technique called classification technique that you can use. Hope this is you understand this. Then the next one is called factor evaluation. Factor evaluation is basically a technique when you are talking about a concept where you have to understand the factors related to that concept. Like if you are talking about the sale of a cold drink in the market, sale of a cold drink in the market, right? Now, in case of a sale, you want to understand what are the different factors that basically put the focus on the sale of the cold drink in the market. What are the factors that is responsible for the sale? Either that factor may impact negatively or positively, doesn't matter, but there is an impact of factors, right? So when you have to talk about this, you talk about factor evaluation technique, right? So what is basically factor evaluation technique? There is one technique that is called factor analysis, right? So you can go for factor analysis in case you have to evaluate, you do the evaluation of the factors related to your research topic, right? Of course, this is one of the most important technique that normally we use when you are talking about social science. So you can use this, right? Now, what exactly the factor analysis is? What factor analysis will do is, factor analysis basically will help you to reduce down the large number of variable into the fewer number of factors, right? Means, suppose in case of your research, what happen is you want to understand the factor responsible for the sale of something, right? So you may have 100 factors, you have recognized 100 factors after reading the literature, right? Now, these 100 factors may not be responsible for the, some factor might be like can be ignored, or some factor are so important that you have to keep them, right? So factor analysis, what factor analysis will do is, factor analysis will divide this into different category like A, B, C, whatever number of categories, right? And might be you will get 20 in this, 10 in this, 15 in this, and 15 in this. So 30, 40, 60, right? So out of 100, 60 factors are divided into three groups, and 40 factors are something that you can neglect for your research, because these 40 factors are may not be very reliable or valid factor for your research. So when you have to go for this, you can use factor analysis. Like, let's see this figure. Now, in this image, if you find that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, they are the 16 factors, right? Now, what factor analysis will do is, factor analysis will divide these 16 factors into, right, 4 categories. Now, some factors in this one, just a minute. First category, second category, third category, and fourth category, right? So factors are divided into 4 categories, right? Now in this case, no factor was removed because all the factors have a good value, that is more than 7.7. So all factors are retained, but it might be a case, suppose this factor might be 0.43. Now because it is very less than 0.5 even, so we can remove this from our result. So factor analysis, what factor analysis will do is, will give you, will reduce down your factor from large to smaller, right? This is called factor analysis. A very important technique in social science research, we use it. And the next one is called, the last one is basically the model formulation. Now when you have to either design a model for your research, or you have to basically define the model, right? In both the cases, you have to go for model formulation technique, and model formulation technique is basically known as structural equation modeling. This is one of the most prominent technique people normally use in either you will talk about medical, you will talk about pharma, you will talk any industry. This
Satya,
technique
put
can
off
be
your
used
mic.
you can be defined when you are talking about model formulation, right? So what model formulation technique is basically is used to measure and analyze the relationship of observed and latent variable. Now you have to understand first these two things, observed and latent variable. Whenever we do a research, whenever we do a research, right, whether you are in pharma industry or in any industry where we normally have two type of variable. One variable is called the observed variable that can be observed. The value can be considered. The value can be calculated. But the another variable is known as the unobserved variable. Means let's talk about the performance of a student. Performance. Performance of the student or performance of anything. Now, performance is one of the variable that cannot be measured directly. What you have to do is, if you are talking about the performance of a student, you have to talk about the marks. Marks will define the performance. Attitude will define the performance. Behavior may define the performance. Extracurricular activity define the performance, whatever it is. But performance cannot be directly measured. The variable that cannot be directly measured like performance known as the latent variable or unobserved variable. And the variable that can be directly defined like performance and marks. So marks is basically directly defined, that is called observed variable. So structure question modeling basically will talk about the observed and unobserved variable and go for the relationship, right? When we talk about these two, one is called exploratory factor analysis, right? And the second one is called confirmatory factor analysis, right? Means when you are doing a structure equation modeling, you have to go for either exploratory or confirmatory, right? Might be a case when you have to do both. Now, when you have to go for exploratory, the case is when there is no predefined model exists, right? There is no predefined model exists. Nothing is exists. You are defining your own model. Then you have to go for exploratory factor analysis, right? When there is a predefined model exists, any predefined model exists, right? The structure exists, then you have to go for confirmatory. What you do in exploratory, you will check whether the variables are valid, whether the variables are reliable, right? And structure defined by you, because there is no structure available, so you will define the structure. So structure defined by you is appropriate or not, right? When you do confirmatory, what is there? You, because the model is already available, so you define the model and try to validate the model. Do the validation directly because the model is already available. So you just validate the model whether that model is applicable in another situation or not. Suppose in medical form, there is a model available, right? What you can do is the model that is available might be applicable in South India, but that might not be applicable in North India. So that model is available. You want to validate whether the model is applicable. The model that is there in South India might be available in North India or not, right? Or a model designed in US might not be applicable in India, right? So you have to validate that a model is available there in US, and the same model when I tried, it is not applicable in India because there is no validity of that model defined with the help of structure modeling, right? So this is what exactly the different type of tools available that you can use in different type of situation.
Thank you all. And this is Aksham would like to thank you for giving us your precious time, sir, and sharing your knowledge with us. And thanks a lot
Anytime.
to our
Thank you very
audience
much.
also for attending the event. We hope you gained knowledge today and we look forward to seeing you at the next event.